The following is allegedly true story recounted by D in Rambo. Have you ever read one of those yellow rag newspapers, the kind you see at old gas stations or little bait shops off the highway, faded from the sun, always with some wild headline like "Woman gives birth to lizard boy" or "UFO cattle thieves strike again"? I used to read them for laughs, especially the ones about Bigfoot or swamp monsters. There was one that stuck with me, something about a beast in Honey Island swamp down in Louisiana. Big, hairy, red eyes, half man, half something else. Back then I thought, what kind of backwoods lunatic believes this junk? Well, that changed now. It was midwinter, a couple of years back. The weather had been weird that season, humid one day, then sharp, cutting wind with the next. Not a flake of snow, but that wind never let up. I'd taken a break from work at the zoo in Jackson, just needed to get away, unplug for a bit. I'd roped in two buddies, Chris and Nolan. We all had a thing for the outdoors, hunted together sometimes, but this trip wasn't about hunting, just a good old-fashioned camping weekend in Louisiana swamp. We drove down Friday morning and set up camp off a Blackwater trail not far from the Pearl River wildlife area, right where the ground starts to give way to swamp. We pitched tents near some cypress trees, cracked beers and spent the evening swapping stories around a small fire. I remember the wind that night. It cut through the trees in bursts, the kind that makes you tighten your coat, even if the air is not cold. Then we heard it. 3 knocks, deep, rhythmic, like someone thumping a tree trunk with a bat. We went quiet. Nolan glanced at me. "Woodpecker?" he asked, but he didn't believe it. "Nope," Chris said, standing. "That wasn't no bird." I tried to laugh it off, but the sound came again, closer. Knock, knock, knock. Slow, intentional. Then silence. Just the wind breaking its way through the trees again. That night I didn't sleep much. Something about the swamp felt watched. Every rustle felt aimed at us. By morning I was second guessing the trip. But Chris said he wanted to do some exploring. He had a drone with thermal imaging he'd been dying to test out. Nolan had brought a hunting rifle, just in case, and I had a machete I'd used during a stint clearing overgrowth at the zoo. We didn't go far, maybe a mile from camp. We found a strange little clearing. A circle of bent trees, bent, not broken, almost like something massive had passed through and shaped them deliberately. I read about this, I muttered, mostly to myself. The yellow papers, they said Bigfoot bends trees to mark territory. Chris laughed, but it was nervous laughter. "Come on, man, you believing those rags now?" I didn't answer. That's when we heard the splash. Something heavy moved through the water just beyond the tree line. Slow steps, not a deer, no way. We froze, listening. It kept circling the clearing. We couldn't see it, too much brush, but we heard it. Breathing, low and wet, deliberate. Then it stopped. Nothing for 10 seconds, 20. Then we heard a rock hit a tree behind us, hard. We spun around, another rock, this time landing between us. We didn't wait for the third. We ran. Back at camp we didn't talk, just packed. It was around noon by then and the wind had picked up worse than ever. The tents flapped like crazy and something in the trees above us creaked, loud like something big was up there. We grabbed what we could and started heading toward the trailhead. It was maybe 3 miles to the truck. Easy in daylight, right? Wrong. Something followed us. It kept just out of sight but not out of hearing. Footsteps, grunts, and those damn rock trolls. Always just close enough to make you jump. Nolan finally snapped. "Show yourself, you son of a..." He didn't finish. A branch came flying from the left and cracked him right in the side, knocked him over. I grabbed his arm. Chris raised his rifle, aiming wildly. I swear to God, if I see it, I'll shoot. The trees on our right shook. Something massive moved. I saw a flash of brown grey fur, 7 feet tall maybe 8. Then nothing. The final stretch to the main road felt like hours. We half carried Nolan, who was limping bad but insisted he could walk. The wind had gotten so loud we could barely hear each other speak. Every so often we heard it again, the grunt, the snap of branches, but it never showed itself fully. It was toying with us. We burst out of the tree line onto the side of Highway 90, looking like hell, mud, scratches, Nolan bleeding from a cut over his eyebrow. A pickup truck skidded to a stop. An older guy in camo leaned out the window. "Jesus, you all okay?" We didn't answer, just piled in. He took one look at our faces and didn't ask another question the whole ride to town. You can believe what you want. Maybe it was some animal playing tricks. Maybe the swamp got into our heads, but I know what I saw. The thing in the trees, it watched us. It followed us, and it knew what it was doing. That night, when I got home, I dug one of those yellow papers I'd saved for laughs. I flipped to the article, "Bee stalks campers in Honey Island Swamp." Back then, I laughed at it. Now, I don't laugh at much. Alright, I'll tell you what happened, but you gotta promise me one thing. Don't go to Bladenboro thinking you're gonna prove me wrong. Don't go out there looking for it. Just listen. Believe me or not, I don't care. I know what I saw. My name is Sylvester Cavell. I'm from outside of Flagstaff, Arizona, but I've lived all over the place thanks to my job. I work in IT, not the most thrilling career I know, but it pays the bills. My real passion's cooking though. I unwind by throwing together spice blends or slow cooking brisket like it's an art form. I had my dog with me that weekend, an old mutt named Barkley. He's got more grey than brown on him now, but he's a loyal little beast, always has been. Anyway, it was last summer. Calm weather, warm nights, you know the kind. Me and 3 buddies of mine, Kyle, Rico and Jamal, decided to go fishing out in Bladenboro, North Carolina. Kyle had scoped out this secluded pond deep in the woods, said it was a forgotten gem, quiet and untouched. We were all game. None of us had much going on that week, and the idea of disconnecting for a couple of nights with beers, rods and fire-grilled trout sounded like heaven. Now, I'd done some digging on Bladenboro before the trip, not just for fish reports either. I've always had a thing for the weird side of nature, spooky folklore, local legends, and let me tell you, Bladenboro's got history. They had this thing back in the 50s called it the Beast of Bladenboro. People said it was a vampire, cat or some werewolf type creature. Livestock were drained of blood, pets went missing. The town went on lockdown for a while. They never figured out what it was. But in some of the more obscure forums and articles, old yellow-paged newspapers too, the kind you have to scan in microfilm, there were a few folks who insisted it wasn't no panther or wild dog. They said it was something bigger, taller, hair-covered, intelligent. A few even whispered Bigfoot. Now, I know what you're thinking. North Carolina? Bigfoot? That's more of a Pacific Northwest thing, right? That's what I thought too. But people forget the Appalachians stretch way down south, and those deep Carolina woods have more secrets than people like to admit. So we get out there, right? Hiking a few miles off an old game trail, find this pond with tall reeds and a sloping bank. Not a soul in sight. just dragonflies and the occasional splash of a bass. We set up camp on the northwest edge, away from the wind. Kyle brought a portable grill. I made some mean skewers with Cajun seasoning I mixed at home. Even Barkley got his share. That first night was peaceful. Calm wind, stars thick above us, like glitter spilled across the sky. We drank, we laughed, we told them stories. Around midnight, the fire's dying down, and we are just sitting in the dark. Barkley is lying by my feet, ears twitching occasionally, but otherwise calm. Then I noticed something. Across the pond, maybe 40 yards away, there is a thick copse of pine trees. One in particular, it's wider than the rest, an old survivor. Behind it, I don't know, I couldn't see the shape exactly at first, but something was off, like there was too much shadow. I stared trying to figure it out. That's when I saw the glint, the two eyes, low and dim, like animal eyes reflecting firelight, but the fire wasn't facing that way. The moonlight was weak, yet those eyes caught something, and they looked right onto me. I froze. Barkley stood up, then didn't bark, just stared with his ears flat back. "You see that?" I asked. Kyle nodded slow. "Yeah, been watching for a while. Thought it was just a stump." Rico grabbed a flashlight and aimed it across the pond. Nothing, just trees. The light passed over the big pine, and for a split second, I swear to God, there was a silhouette. Broad shoulders, a head too high for a bear. Then it was gone. We all went quiet after that. No one said a word. We just piled some more logs on the fire and stayed close. I didn't sleep much. Barkley didn't either. The next day, we played it cool. Fished, told jokes, tried to act like it didn't happen. But I kept noticing things. Birds stopped singing mid-morning. No insects buzzing. At once I caught a whiff of something foul, like rotted meat and wet fur. Jamal said it was probably a dead raccoon nearby, but it lingered. That night, that's when it got bad. We had just finished eating when Barkley started growling low, not barking, growling. He was staring past our tents into the woods, same direction as the pond. Then came the noise. It was a knocking sound at first, 3 quick taps, like wood on rocks. Then silence. Another set, farther off, then closer again. "Wood knocks," Kyle muttered. "That's a Bigfoot thing, right? From those videos?" I nodded. I'd seen enough of them to know. The knocking, the rock throwing, the howls. But this felt like we were being cornered, herded. We circled up, flashlights out, and I grabbed the hatchet I brought for chopping firewood. Rico had a machete. Kyle pulled the flare gun out of his pack, just in case, he said. Then we heard it, heavy footfalls, something big crunching through the brush. And it wasn't running, it was pacing, circling. Then came the scream. It wasn't human, it wasn't animal. It was this deep, wet howl that turned into a scream halfway through, made your skin crawl. Jamal dropped his flashlight. Suddenly something slammed into Kyle's tent, flattened it like it was paper. Then a rock the size of a melon hit the grill and sent sparks flying. We panicked, I won't lie. We bolted into the woods, gear, be damned. Barkley kept up with me, teeth bared. I didn't look back. I heard another scream and then I heard Rico yelling. Then silence. We ran all night, didn't matter which way, just away. I had a compass app on my phone and I pointed it west, hoping to hit a road. Eventually, just before dawn, we stumbled onto a gravel path and followed it until we reached a small ranger station. Barkley collapsed the moment we got inside. They sent a crew back out later that day. They found the camp trashed, no sign of Rico. not even blood, just drag marks. The official story? Bear attack. But they didn't explain the prints. Not bear, not man, something in between. I haven't been back, neither has Kyle. Jamal moved to Arizona shortly after. I still have Barkley. He's never been the same. Won't go near the woods. Me neither. So yeah, laugh it off if you want. Say I'm crazy, but if you ever go fishing in the Bladenboro, don't stay the night. Alright, so listen, I don't talk about this much. Barely told anyone actually. I think maybe one or two people I really trust know the full story. But I'm getting older, and every fall when the wind picks up, I get these damn chills in my bones. Not from the cold, but from memory. So yeah, I'll tell you. But you gotta promise you won't laugh, and you won't go looking for it. This ain't a game. My name is Vigo Merritt. I'm from Wichita. I work as a delivery driver. Been doing it for years. Pays alright. Keeps me moving. My real thing though has always been fishing. Sitting by a river or a lake. Early morning mist. Just me, my dog Rocco, and the world waking up around us. Simple pleasures, you know. Anyway, this happened 2 autumns ago. Late October, right when the trees start turning that burnt orange and the wind starts whispering weird things at night. My buddies and I, Cody, Marcus and Jen, we rented this old cabin out near Manistee National Forest in Michigan. Deep woods, no neighbors, no signal, just a wood stove, creaky floorboards and the promise of good times. We'd done trips like this before, usually around Kansas or Missouri, but Marcus had a buddy who said the Manistee woods were perfect, beautiful, isolated, and full of deer. Marcus was big on bow hunting, so we figured why not. I brought Rocco, my dog, mixed mud, loyal as hell, always came with me on these trips. Jen brought her dad's old revolver, just in case we ran into a bear. Cody had a machete for bushwhacking, and I had my camp axe, you know, just basic tools, nothing fancy. The first couple of nights were uneventful. We played cards, drank, told ghost stories. I even joked about Bigfoot once. I remember it clearly because Marcus got serious all of a sudden, said people had actually seen things in those woods that made the firelight feel colder for a second. Now, here's the weird part. A few months before that trip, I'd played this indie horror game. It was based on Bigfoot lore. You know, tracking it, hearing knocks in the woods, getting hunted. The atmosphere got under my skin. I even had a dream after playing it, where I was deep in the woods and I could hear this breathing, heavy and low, like something just behind the trees. Do you ever dream something that feels too real? Like it burns itself into your memory? That's what it felt like. Fast forward to the third night in the cabin. The wind was howling outside, really ripping through the trees. Rocco was acting weird. He kept pacing and growling low, not barking, just this deep rumble in his chest. We figured maybe he smelled a coyote or something. Jen started joking again about Bigfoot, but her voice wasn't as light as usual. Then we heard it. It started as a knock. 3 sharp cracks. Wood on wood. Cody froze. "That ain't no tree branch," he whispered. Then came a whoop. That long guttural call that echoed through the trees like something trying to mimic a person but not quite getting it right. Like it was mocking us. Marcus muttered, "Wood knocks, tree howls, it's textbook." We all went silent. I had goosebumps crawling up my neck. Rocco was trembling beside me. Not from cold, he was scared. We kept the fire going that night, and we took turns keeping watch. No one slept much. The wind outside didn't die down, It just kept wailing like something crying in the distance. Morning came, but none of us felt rested. We talked about leaving early, but the truck battery was dead. Just dead. No warning. We checked everything, connections, terminals. No reason it should have failed. And we were too far out to hike to town before dark. So we stayed. That night, it came closer. It started with rocks hitting the side of the cabin, not pebbles, fist-sized rocks. One smashed a window in the back room. Jen screamed and Marcos grabbed his bow. I took the axe and tried to calm Rocco down. He was barking his damn head off by now, teeth bared, hackles up. We turned out the lights and crouched low. The fire was down to embers. Then we heard the breathing. Heavy, slow, right outside the door. I've never been so cold in my life. Cody, whispering, said, "Look, look at the window." And we did. Just for a second, something huge moved past it. Hairy, broad. It didn't run, it strolled. That was the moment I realized we weren't alone. We weren't just being watched, we were being hunted. Then it screamed. I can't describe it fully, like a bear's roar mixed with a man's howl, but deeper, full of rage. It shook the tiny cabin walls. Jen dropped the revolver. I picked it up and held it like a lifeline, though I doubted it'd do a damn thing against something that big. Then came the banging. Full body slams against the walls. Again and again, we barricaded the door with furniture, but the whole place shuddered every time it hit. And then it stopped. Silence. For a moment I thought maybe it had given up. Then we heard Marcus screaming outside. He tried to slip out and make a run for the truck. None of us saw him go. We rushed to the back window just in time to see something dragging him into the trees, fast, efficient, like a wolf dragging a deer. Gone. We were in full panic after that. We grabbed what we could, flashlights, the revolver, the machete, and bolted out of the front door. The wind almost knocked us sideways. The woods looked like they were moving, swaying like they were alive. Rocco took off ahead of us, barking madly, then suddenly turned tail and ran back, tail between his legs, eyes wide. That dog's fearless, but that night he looked broken. We didn't stop, we ran like hell, and that thing chased us. We never saw it clearly again, just glimpses, a shadow darting through the trees, the sound of it breathing, footsteps pounding in the dirt behind us. I don't know how far we ran, but eventually we burst out onto a gravel road. Headlights came around the bend and the truck nearly hit us. Old farmer. Thought we were on drugs at first. We piled in and didn't say much. He took us to the nearest police station. They organized a search the next day. They never found Marcus. All they found was blood and drag marks. They said it was a bear, but those claw marks? Too high. Those prints? Too human. We went back to Kansas and tried to move on, but I still see Marcus's face. Sometimes when I close my eyes, still hear those knocks. That game I played, it wasn't just fiction. It knew. It understood something. Those rules. Don't whistle, don't run, don't look it in the eyes. Yeah, they're real. You think it's just a game until you live it. So if you ever go out into the Michigan woods and the wind picks up and you hear a knock, don't wait around for the second one.